I was down in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time, and the individual that started the Sundance up here, his name was Ray Buffalo. Him and Martin Highbear were going to start a Sundance up here, so I met Ray Buffalo in 1974, and I came up here to the Northwest and went out to what is called an UMPO camp. And UMPO was an organization that was basically a cultural preservation organization that Brave Buffalo, DeVere Eastman started back in the 70s, 74 I think. Anyway, he was going to have a Sundance up here, so he called me up and asked me to come up here and help him get it organized. So that's why I came up here, and I came up here in 1980 and started working on the Sundance with Brave Buffalo, and getting that organized, and doing a lot of the physical labor out at camp, and done a lot of public relations work, going all over, talking at different universities and schools all up and down the coast, about Sundance and about the sacred pipe, and the way of the native people. It wasn't so much of a cultural kind of a thing. A lot of the educating that we were doing were for non-native peoples. I had this dream that I was sitting in this bleacher seat looking down, and there was this podium down there. And Brave Buffalo came up and walked up to the podium, and he gave this talk to these people, about traditions, value, and culture. And all of these people were, sitting there. My grandmother was sitting beside me. I was like looking over, and I felt her presence. So I looked over, and she was sitting there looking down at me. But again, I couldn't see her face. Anyway, she was sitting there, and she said, "You know what?" In Lakota, she told me, she said, "I can tell these people a lot of things." So I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, why don't you go ahead and tell me, Grandma? I'll translate it for you." And she said, "No." She said, "These people are gonna realize it someday. Realize what I have to tell them someday." And I said, "Well, if you don't want to say anything, then then you won't say anything." She said, "Yeah, I don't. She said, they'll find out. They'll find out what it is." But at that time, Martin Highbear was coming up right behind Brave Buffalo. Brave Buffalo walked off into there was like steam rolling around and stuff. He rolled in the fog. He walked off into the fog, and then Martin Highbear was coming up next. And so the next day I went to work, and then I got a call, telling me that Brave Buffalo had passed away in Germany. And I knew that Martin was going to go then. I would go next because he was walking into that thing. But that podium and that way of explaining all of that kind of stuff, for me, in retrospect, looking at what my grandmother had to say about our way of life, she didn't want anybody, she didn't want to tell these people anything because she never talked English anyway, and she didn't care for them, And so, what I got out of that was, you don't need to stand up there in front of everybody and tell them about your way of life. You have it for your people. You save it for your people. Don't be telling these people this stuff. That's kind of like what I got out of it. So, shortly after that, I used to have people calling me all the time to come and talk and do stuff. But after that, I just kind of got away from it all. I didn't want to do that anymore. That kind of talking and that kind of stuff about Sundance and those kinds of things. I didn't have an interest in that anymore.